Are you bored? Scrolling through social media for hours on end? Boy, do I have the solution for you. During lockdown, you probably ran out of films to watch and books to read. Well, using Olivia Rodrigo's debut album Sour as an excuse, Anushka Ghosh Limited has compiled a list of recommendations for you to peruse. Dial 1800 Anushka to cure your boredom. Now, before we get into the video, and before some of you click off this video, I have a little disclaimer. A few years ago, when Taylor Swift's 1989 was blowing up in India because of Blank Space and Wildest Dreams, I discovered some of her previous discography and consumed it like nothing else. However, I was embarrassed for liking her music because people in school actually said, "Ew, you like Taylor Swift because she made cheesy love songs." I feel like Olivia Rodrigo is coming to a point in her fame where people don't really respect you for liking her music. Now, I am not articulating this well enough, so I'm just going to use this Tumblr post I found at aka Just Mary. Not really feeling the discourse around Olivia Rodrigo, a literal teenager. Not really appreciating the debates on whether she's white passing. Hint, if you're debating it, she isn't. Not really appreciating the flattening and whitewashing of her songs into universal sad girl tunes a la Mitski, when there are tracks where she's clearly singing about being a woman of color whose white boyfriend left her for a white girl. Example: "'Cause I thought you'd like me more if I looked like the other prom queens I know that you loved before." Not feeling the way people keep claiming she stole from white artists because people don't know most pop/pop punk songs have the same basic chord progression, and absolutely despising comparisons to Taylor Swift, a grown white woman. Miss Rodrigo is only 18. 18! She's clearly a vulnerable, talented, very young woman finding her way. She needs protection and support, not to be picked apart by grown people for clout. This is specifically addressed to people who are annoyed by Olivia Rodrigo's current skyrocketing to fame. That being said, let's get into the recommendations. Now, my recommendations have loose connections to the overall larger themes of Olivia's songs. And because I haven't read that many books or watched that many films, I've decided to alternate book and film recommendations, starting with books and going in order of the track list on the Sour album. The first song on the album is Brutal. Brutal is a teenage angst anthem that talks about societal pressures and the expectations to succeed, while also having a great social life and being happy. There's a fine line between being successful and happy, and I think the song implies that that is a hard line to tread sometimes. The book I decided I was going to recommend for this particular song was Radio Silence. Radio Silence is a young adult novel, contemporary novel that I think perfectly encapsulates the fine line between success, happiness, mental health, and anxiety. The book's two main queer characters are Frances, a high-achieving A-level student, and Aled, a university student with a secret. As they both traverse life in the book, they go through issues related to mental health, anxiety, sexuality, and societal pressures. If there were a movie made about this book, I'm sure the theme would be brutal. After all, God, it's brutal out here. So the second song on the album is Traitor, and it is also the first song that I listened to on the album, which made me want to listen to the entire album, and so I did. It's because Traitor has one of the best bridges, if not the best bridge, on the album. You're still a traitor. And it has the pervasive theme of sobbing. A movie which reminded me of this theme is Kramer vs. Kramer. Kramer vs. Kramer is this 1979 film that stars Meryl Streep and Dustin Hoffman. It is about Ted Kramer and the relationship that forms with his son, Billy, after his wife Joanna walks out on them after the end of their marriage.
Listen, I gotta get those photos from the retoucher by tomorrow morning, okay?
I'm leaving you.
Honey, please. I can't hear you. What? Okay, you too. Thanks a lot. See you tomorrow. Guys, Z?
Ted, I'm leaving you.
Throughout the movie, you do start to think of the mom
Where's
as a
Mommy?
traitor since she did leave her
Where's
family
Mommy?
and neglects to care for her son. However, the movie's plot changes when Joanna comes back demanding full custody of their son Billy. It is, I think, one of the best, if not the best, portrayal of divorce and the consequences it wreaks on a child. Also, Billy, who is played by this actor I don't remember the name of, is so cute, and he is the only reason I sobbed during the end of the movie. So the third song on the album is Driver's License, which is the breakout song and I think the debut single of Olivia Rodrigo, which made her skyrocket to fame. And it is also incidentally the most overplayed song on Instagram Reels. But apart from that, it happens to have a lot of mentions and be the most revealing on the album about Olivia's rumored relationship with her High School Musical, the series co-star Joshua Bassett, and his rumored relationship with Sabrina Carpenter after breaking up with Olivia Rodrigo. These are hinted in the song by the various lyrics about that blonde girl who's so much older than me and she's everything that I'm insecure about. And a book that reminds me of this particular song is The Girl on the Train. This book not only has the underlying theme of ever-present sadness, but it also has the underlying theme of transportation. Not that I know how to drive. The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins is about Rachel, a divorcee who is depressed and down in the depths of alcoholism. And on the train to work, Rachel actually doesn't have a job. She people watches a couple she named Jason and Jess in her head. One day she notices Jess doing something she shouldn't, and Rachel decides she has to do something about this. Multiple intersections between Rachel and Jess's life reveal themselves, and the plot gets a lot more complicated. It is a book that's a psychological mystery thriller that's really fast-paced. The connection between Driver's License and The Girl on the Train is not only the depression and the transportation, but also the fact that Rachel is primarily an alcoholic because Tom, her ex-husband, left Rachel for someone who is everything Rachel is insecure about. Now, I didn't particularly enjoy this book because one, it was really repetitive. Two, the writing style was very stream of conscience and also descriptive that I didn't particularly like. However, I cannot deny that the plot is really good and the plot twists are even better. The fourth song on the album is One Step Forward, Three Steps Back, which is a song about relationships that are out of sync, primarily because the participants are never on the same page about where the relationship is. The song is also remarkable because it samples the same chord progression of the song New Year's Day by Taylor Swift, which Olivia had permission to do from her new bestie Taylor Swift. I'm not sad. What are you saying? Anyway, it's not my favorite on the album, but a movie that I was reminded of was 500 Days of Summer, which is the biography of a 500-day relationship between Summer and Tom. Summer acted by Zooey Deschanel and Tom acted by our favorite Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Tom believes in soulmates and fate and the one girl who will be perfect for him.
Now in a city of 400,000 offices, 91,000 commercial buildings, and 3.8 million people, well, that could only be explained by one thing: fate.
While Summer doesn't believe in such things, yet Tom still believes that she will be the one. The movie is set in Los Angeles and infuses a very LA nostalgia vibe.
The Fine Arts Building.
And the movie is depicted non-linearly, flitting between times in the relationship between Summer and Tom that were good and times in the relationship that were not as good. It's a one step forward, three steps back movie because Tom and Summer are never really on the same page about the relationship. Tom wants marriage and the works out of the relationship, while Summer just believes in casual flings.
What are we doing?
Thought we were going to the movies.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, what's going on here with us?
I don't know.
I like the cinematography, the music, and the fact that it's a little unconventional movie because it's about a relationship that's not working. It's not a sad movie though. Like most romantic comedy films, and unlike this particular song, the movie's ending is cheesy and hopeful, and who doesn't love Joseph Gordon-Levitt? The fifth song on the album is Deja Vu, which is another breakout song that everybody loves, and it is also really well known because of its songwriting. Olivia Rodrigo takes the concept of déjà vu, which is a French phrase that means already seen, literally translated, or in this case, it means already felt, and applies it to the concept of an ex's new girlfriend, and how the ex would be using things, phrases, and objects that were used during Olivia's relationship with her ex. A book that reminds me of this whole deja vu concept is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. The book is about Addie LaRue, a girl who, in the hopes of leaving the confinement of an arranged marriage in her small town, sells her soul to the devil in order to be youthful and immortal, but cursed to be forgotten. This essentially means that whenever Addie speaks to a person, they will remember her while having the conversation with her, but if they turn their head or they close a door on her and then come back to meet her, they don't remember ever speaking to her before. If this book could be summed up in one phrase, it is this quote from the book.
Déjà vu, déjà su, déjà vécu.
Since Addie's cursed to be forgotten, she constantly has repeated experiences with people she has already met before, and these people constantly say the same things. For example, there was this part in the book that enacts this whole situation. "Oh, I don't mind," says Addie, forcing her gaze out as if studying the city, even though Sam always made her feel like a sunflower, unconsciously angling towards the other girl's light. "These days, everyone's looking down," muses Sam. "It's nice to see someone looking up." Time slides. It's the same thing Sam said the first time they met, and the 6th, and the 10th. I liked the book mostly for its writing, and while the book has diversity in terms of sexuality because 2 of the main characters are bisexual, there are no people of color, and this is paradoxical because Addie is 300 years old and she never has experiences with people of color. And this also doesn't make sense because Addie lives in New York City, which is one of the most diverse places on earth. This is better articulated in Cindy's video about the whole book, about whether white authors should include people of color in their books. I still recommend this book, however, because a lot of people have liked it for the way it was written and the fact that it has this fantasy element in the story, but I didn't particularly like how the plot went because it became a little repetitive in some plot lines of the book. The 6th song on the album is Good For You. Good For You is the quintessential punk rock I hate you song to be screamed out loud after a breakup, I think. It has these really cool electric and bass guitar riffs, and the chorus is the jumping in the air, playing non-existent guitar chorus, although it is ruined by scrolling through way too many Good For You Instagram reels this past month. However, it's not too much of a stretch when I say Good For You is about a man/boyfriend/significant other moving on very easily after an emotional event, i.e., the woman suffers the consequence of a man's actions. Again. A topic that came to mind when I thought about this particular song is the hashtag #MeToo movement, which is a social movement that started in 2006 but gained traction in 2017 when almost, now we know, 87 women came out with sexual harassment allegations against Harvey Weinstein, famous Hollywood producer and filmmaker. The movie I have in mind speaks about the same topic and is about a story that came along long before the Me Too movement, and this is the movie Confirmation, the HBO made-for-television movie. It is about the sexual harassment alleged by Anita Hill against Judge Clarence Thomas. Anita Hill was his former assistant and former attorney advisor.
After approximately 3 months of working there, he asked me to go out socially with him. What happened next and telling the world about it are the two most difficult experiences of my life.
Good For You is definitely a light-hearted version or song of the feelings that Anita Hill was going through while being character assassinated on the stand. While racism was not a central issue in the movie, it was more about the sexual harassment. The movie does pose the question, how differently would Anita Hill have been treated had she been white? I really liked the movie, and I liked the fact that the movie was about a woman of color and her story with sexual harassment. And even though Judge Clarence Thomas was officially confirmed later, the movie does end on a nice note, which I really appreciated. Enough for You is the next song on the album that illustrates all the insecurities of a teenage girl and a person who is not yet comfortable enough with herself and her body and tries to get the guy she likes to like her by doing things like wearing makeup, knowing all his favorite songs, reading all his self-help books. It also has some racial undertones, as said in this particular lyric and also said in the Tumblr post above. The book I have in mind speaks of insecurities that are racially toned. And this book is The Bluest Eye, the debut novel of Toni Morrison, who is the winner of the Pulitzer Prize for Fiction and the Nobel Prize for Literature. Toni Morrison is known for her ability to write really rich prose about the African American experience, and she was able to do that with The Bluest Eye as well. The novel speaks of the want for having the bluest eye, or the want to conform to Eurocentric ideals of beauty. The novel is about Pecola Breedlove and the Breedlove family and the supporting characters of Claudia and Frida McTeer. Pecola prays for her eyes to turn blue so she'd be just as cherished as the white, blonde, blue-eyed children of America. It also chronicles the experience of these African American families of the Breedloves and the McTeers in the largely white community of Lorain, Ohio in the 1940s. The book is heartbreaking and extremely melancholic because it touches upon topics such as sexual abuse, poverty, bullying, Eurocentric ideals of beauty, and most importantly, the loss of innocence. While the book is slow-paced at times and at times confusing, especially during the prologue, which is a portrayal of the perfect American family titled The Dick and Jane Paragraph on Wikipedia. It is an extremely illuminating book about the African American experience during the 1940s, and I would definitely recommend it. Another song that speaks to the end of a relationship is Happier, which has also a particularly bittersweet taste to it because while Olivia wishes the best for her ex or for him to be happy, she doesn't wish that he is happier than they were in their relationship together, or rather she wishes he was happy with her. The recommendation for this particular song was hard to pick because most relationships don't end amicably, but I just decided to recommend It's Complicated, which is one of the best romantic comedies of all time. It's about Jane and her ex-husband Jake and all the problems that arise when they decide to have an affair together. I chose It's Complicated for the song Happier because Jane, as a divorcee, is still bittersweet about her marriage that ended 10 years ago. At the beginning of the movie, Jane has made peace with the divorce and the fact that her ex-husband is in a new marriage. However, she somewhere still feels sad about it, which is the whole bittersweet aspect. Now, you would have to watch the rest of the movie to figure out what kind of song fits the rest of it, but at the beginning of the movie, I think Happier is a pretty good estimate of the way Jane is feeling. The next song on the album is Jealousy, Jealousy. Jealousy, Jealousy is one of the few non-heartbreak/love songs on the album. It is about the constant comparison that teenagers torture themselves with regards to beauty, productivity, and success. For example, in the song, Olivia Rodrigo mentions paper white teeth and perfect bodies, cool vintage clothes, vacation photos. In the social media age, comparison is one of those things you can't stop doing, and its byproduct is jealousy. One book I think that captures this aspect of jealousy and envy is My Sister's Keeper by Jodi Picoult. It's a book that I read a really long time ago, but it is still one of the most heartbreaking plots I've ever read. It is about Anna and Kate. Anna is a sister who was conceived as a perfect bone marrow match for her sister Kate, who has acute promyelocytic leukemia.
I probably butchered that word.
So when Kate undergoes operations or treatment, it is very likely that Anna is going through operations that are very grueling at the same time. Kate currently has kidney problems due to the effects of her treatment, and Anna is being asked to donate a kidney in the case Kate's fail. Anna has particularly jealous feelings towards Kate because all her life Anna has been defined in terms of her sister Kate. This is a section where Anna is comparing hypothetical funerals between Kate and hers, and Kate will have many people come to her funeral and her newspaper story will be on the front page, while for Anna, she thinks nobody will come except her family and her news story would come on the 24th page. In a fit of frustration and the fact that the taking of things from Anna, like her organs, her granulocytes, her blood cells, will never stop because Kate is progressively getting sicker and sicker. Anna decides to file for medical emancipation for the right to have control of her own medical decisions. The consequences of this decision are explored in the book. However, I have read some mixed reviews on Goodreads, so don't sue me if you don't like the book. The penultimate song on the album, and we're almost towards the end of this video. So the next song is Favorite Crime. This song is another song about heartbreak that compares the way Olivia's significant other treated her to that of a crime. While this is a cliched allegory, the song has become a favorite of mine because of its melancholic guitar picking and another amazing bridge. Video idea what movie I would be picking for favorite crime, and that is The Ghost of Girlfriends Past, which stars Matthew McConaughey alongside Jennifer Garner, Emma Stone, and a bunch of other famous people. The movie is about serial dater / womanizer Connor Mead, who treats women really badly and basically does not believe in monogamy. On the eve of his brother's wedding, he is presented with the ghosts of all the girlfriends he has ever wronged.
What are you gonna do to me?
Oh, no, it's gonna be rad, okay? I am gonna take you back through all of your past girlfriends, and then hopefully you and I can figure out how you got your head quit so far up your ass. Ready, Freddy?
However, a lot of you may search up this movie and may be wondering why am I recommending it, because it's rated horribly on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. Well, I think the movie is good, and it's something that you watch when you're not in the mood to watch something serious. I liked it because it showed that he reflected on his crimes in a way that made him reflect on his behavior. And I also like Matthew McConaughey, so sue me. The last song on the album is called Hope You're Okay. It's probably the most fitting for Pride Month because Hope You're Okay is a song where Olivia reminisces about old friends, presumably a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, who were ostracized by their families for this particular part of their identity. It is again a testament to her songwriting ability. I'm just gonna put up a few lyrics.
With the courage to unlearn all of their hatred.
The book and movie I'm going to be recommending is one that I read when I was 12 years old because I had a massive crush on Logan Lerman and wanted to watch all his filmography. And yes, this book/movie is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen.
I don't know how to say his last name.
Chbosky.
I think I watched the movie before I read the book, or because I was confused by the movie's ending. I don't remember. Anyway, The Perks of Being a Wallflower is about 15-year-old Charlie and his experience in high school told through a series of letters to a friend. And I think Hope You're Okay, the song, is connected to this book/movie because the characters, or the main characters, have traumatic childhood and teenagehood experiences with parts of their identity, whether it be mental health, gender, or sexuality. And whenever I think of Charlie, the main character / Logan Lerman, I just hope that he's okay. And that was the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I have to say this, but thank you so much for all the love and all the people who took time to watch my previous video. I have been so overwhelmed, and again, like I said before, your comments are what make me want to do this more. So thank you. The first song on the album is Brutal. Brutal is this teenage